The American political spectrum can be described in this way. We have a left wing and a right wing, which are often described as liberal and conservative. Each of these two sides has a political party representing them, with Barack Obama on the left in the Democrat Party and George W. Bush on the right in the Republican Party. In my opinion, this is a bad way of looking at politics, and this is why. Take the left-right paradigm to its extremes. People usually consider those on the far left communist, while right-wing extremists are fascist. But wouldn't that mean that the choice is between someone who is a little bit communist and someone who is slightly fascist? And are these two forms of government really so different from one another? In either case, we find the state promotion of nationalism, mass poverty resulting from central economic planning, restrictions on civil liberties, human rights abuses, militarism, and death on a large scale, just to name a few. That's why I put them both in the same category of statism. The fact that both ends of the spectrum produce the same scary results leads many to believe that positioning yourself in the center is the wisest and noblest position to take, as if you could find just the right mix of communism and fascism. Now let's look at the terms we use to describe these two sides. Liberal comes from the Latin word liberalis or liber, meaning freedom or free. The dictionary defines liberal as favorable to or in accordance with concepts of maximum freedom possible, especially as guaranteed by law and secured by governmental protections of civil liberties. Forget the term liberal that you know. FDR in his divine wisdom perverted its meaning in the 30s to fit his ideology, and we like sheep went along with it. Prior to that time it had meant something else entirely. Classical liberalism is the philosophy committed to the ideal of limited government, constitutionalism, rule of law, due process, and liberty of individuals, including freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and free markets. So in the classical sense, the founders were liberal. Now what does it mean to be conservative? The dictionary defines conservative as being disposed to preserve existing conditions, institutions, or to restore traditional ones. So the conservatives want to preserve what the founders built, which was a liberal democracy. I say conservatives are liberal. We should throw these terms out altogether. It's beginning to seem like the positions of left and right are arbitrary. Let's consider a new spectrum, one of freedom versus slavery, or in governmental terms, anarchy versus statism. Since those in power usually do all they can to keep it and to get more when possible, and since government has a monopoly on force, power tends to flow towards statism. And maybe that's what's really important, not the meaningless right versus left that we know, but the continual descent into statism. Our founders understood the struggle between the individual and the state. Thomas Paine said that government is best which governs least. This illustrates the truly liberal governmental philosophy our nation was founded upon. As Patrick Henry said, the Constitution is an instrument for the people to restrain the government. It was written to help hold us in place and prevent us from losing our freedoms to the state. Unfortunately, the distraction of the false left-right paradigm has kept us occupied while both parties have done their parts in leading us down the wrong path, away from the Constitution. So next time you're faced with an issue, resist the temptation to look at it in terms of left and right. Instead, ask yourself, what does the Constitution say about this? Does this give the federal government more power? If so, then don't do it. It's so much easier to give up control than to get it back.